The airport crowd had gathered for a routine arrival. What they witnessed was anything but routine. When Alex Eala stepped off the plane in Washington, she was not just met by fans. She was met by a motorcade security detail and a welcome reserved for visiting dignitaries. The tennis world was left in disbelief. Just days earlier, she had been welcomed home to the Philippines with a hero's reception at NAIA Terminal 3. Before that, she had been spotted dancing on stage with Bad Bunny in Stockholm. From concert crowds to airport tarmacs to red carpet welcomes, the Filipina sensation's back-to-back viral moments captured both sides of a rising global athlete. But the Washington welcome was different. It was a statement, a recognition that the Eala Effect had arrived in America, and it was more powerful than anyone had anticipated. The private jet touched down at Dulles International Airport on the morning of July 26, 2026. Alex Eala had just completed a whirlwind week that would have exhausted even the most seasoned traveler. One moment she was being welcomed as a national hero in Manila. The next, she was being treated like royalty in Washington. Just days earlier, on July 12, 2026, Eala had arrived at NAIA Terminal 3 to a hero's welcome that captured the heart of a nation. Thousands of fans had packed the airport, waving Philippine flags and chanting her name. The banda Kawayan Pilipinas performed with their bamboo instruments, creating a celebration that felt more like a victory parade than a simple arrival. Government officials, including Philippine Olympic Committee President Abraham Tolentino and Philippine Sports Commission Chairman Patrick Gregorio, were there to greet her. "Is this really all for me?" Eala had beamed upon arriving to the packed crowd. The 21-year-old Filipina, who just days earlier had been dancing on stage with Bad Bunny in Stockholm, was clearly overwhelmed by the reception. She signed tennis balls, interacted with young athletes, and took in the welcome festivities before walking through the international arrivals area. But what awaited her in Washington was something entirely different. As the aircraft taxied to a stop at Dulles, Eala looked out the window and saw something that made her freeze. A motorcade. Black SUVs, security personnel in dark suits, and a red carpet that stretched across the tarmac. The Mubadala DC Open organizers had arranged a VIP welcome that rivaled that of a visiting head of state. The tournament, the only combined ATP less than 500 event in the world, had already secured 7 top 20 players including Alina Svitolina, Naomi Osaka, and defending champion Leylah Fernandez. But they knew that Eala's presence was something special. Fresh off her Wimbledon run, where she became the first Filipino to reach the 4th round of a Grand Slam singles tournament, Eala had climbed to a career-high number 28 in the WTA rankings. She had stunned defending champion Iga Swiatek on center court, defeating the world number 37662 in one of the biggest upsets of the tournament. She had become the first Filipino to reach the 2nd week of a Grand Slam in the Open era, and now she was bringing that energy to America. The tennis world was stunned. Players had received VIP treatment before. They had been welcomed by dignitaries and celebrities, but a motorcade and red carpet welcome was unprecedented, and it signaled that the Eala Effect had arrived in Washington. "I had no idea," Eala later told reporters. "I thought I was just coming to play tennis. And then I see the motorcade, the red carpet, all the cameras. It was surreal. The security detail that accompanied Eala from the airport to the tournament venue was unprecedented for a tennis player. She was escorted by a convoy of black SUVs, with police escorts clearing the way. It was the kind of treatment usually reserved for heads of state or visiting dignitaries. The crowd that had gathered to catch a glimpse of Eala could not believe what they were seeing. The 21-year-old from Manila, who just weeks earlier had been speaking to the little girl with ruffled socks and chubby cheeks, was now being treated like royalty on American soil. One observer captured the moment perfectly. When Eala plays, the stands fill first for her matches. Noise levels spike. Camera lenses swing her way. Tournament schedules quietly adjust. And now, in Washington, that pattern was being written into the very fabric of the tournament itself. The Filipino-American community, over 4 million strong, had been waiting for this moment. They had watched Eala's rise with growing excitement. They had celebrated her victory over Swiatek with pride. And now, they were seeing their hero being welcomed in a way that validated everything they had believed about her. But the Washington welcome was just the beginning. Eala's schedule was packed. After Washington, she would head to Toronto for the Canadian Open from August 1 to 13. Then came the Cincinnati Open and finally the US Open, the season's final Grand Slam. The hard court swing beckoned, and a nation of 110 million people would be watching every step of the way. For now, however, the focus was on Washington. And the VIP welcome had set the stage for something extraordinary. The VIP welcome at Dulles International Airport was the culmination of a week that had seen Alex Eala transform from a tennis player into a national icon. and the celebrations had begun long before she ever set foot on American soil. Just days earlier, on July 12, 2026, Eala had arrived at NAIA Terminal 3 in Manila to a hero's welcome that captured the heart of a nation. Thousands of fans had packed the airport, waving Philippine flags and chanting her name. The Banda Kawayan Pilipinas performed with their bamboo instruments, creating a celebration that felt more like a victory parade than a simple arrival. Government officials, including Philippine Olympic Committee President Abraham Bambol Tolentino and Philippine Sports Commission Chairman Patrick Pato Gregorio, were there to greet her. "Is this really all for me?" Eala beamed upon arriving to the packed crowd. The 21-year-old Filipina was clearly overwhelmed by the reception. She signed tennis balls, interacted with young athletes, and took in the welcome festivities before walking through the international arrivals area. The nation had been following her historic Wimbledon run with bated breath. The Filipino tennis ace, who is now No. 28 in the world rankings following her performance in Wimbledon, had achieved a string of firsts for Philippine tennis. She became the first Filipina-seeded player in Grand Slam history. No. 29, the first Filipina match winner in Wimbledon, and also the first to reach the third and fourth rounds of a major respectively. Eala's Wimbledon campaign was nothing short of spectacular. She opened with a straight sets victory over Renata Zurazua before rallying from a set down to defeat Maya Joint in the second round. Then came the moment that captured the world's attention. She delivered arguably the biggest win of her career, stunning defending champion Iga Swiatek 7-6-9, 6-2 in the third round to reach the round of 16. In her sixth Grand Slam main draw appearance, thus Eala had proven that she could compete with the best in the world. She put up a gallant fight against Jasmine Paolini, the 2024 Wimbledon finalist, but ultimately lost 4-6, 6-4, 3-6. Despite the defeat, she had won the hearts of millions. She had become the first Filipino to reach the round of 16 in a Grand Slam singles tournament in the Open era. Before returning to the Philippines, Eala had taken a brief break to unwind. She attended Bad Bunny's concert in Stockholm, Sweden, where she was spotted dancing on stage at the Strawberry Arena. She shared videos of herself at La Casita, the life-size replica of a traditional Puerto Rican home that has become a signature feature of the artist's stadium performances. "Benito, you were the dance I'll never forget," she later wrote in an Instagram story. The encounter brought together two record breakers from different corners of the world stage. Eala, the first Filipino to reach the fourth round of a Grand Slam, and Bad Bunny, who made Grammy Awards history when his album Debí Tirar Más Fotos won Album of the Year. But the celebration in Manila was about more than just tennis. It was about a nation finding a hero. It was about a young woman who had inspired millions with her humility, grace, and unwavering belief in herself. And it was about the recognition that the Eala Effect had become a force that transcended sport. Now, just days after that celebration, Eala was in Washington. The motorcade, the red carpet, the security detail, it was all recognition of the same phenomenon. The world had finally realized what the Philippines already knew. Alex Eala was special. And she was just getting started. The celebrations in Manila were just the beginning. What followed would cement Alex Eala's status as a national treasure and prove that the Eala Effect had transformed into something far greater than anyone could have imagined. On July 15, 2026, just days after her triumphant return to the Philippines, Eala held a fan meet at the Glorieta Activity Center in Makati. Thousands of supporters gathered to celebrate her landmark achievements, eager to catch a glimpse of the woman who had made history at Wimbledon. The venue was packed. The energy was electric. And the nation that had produced Manny Pacquiao, the boxing legend who had united the country like no other athlete before him, was now embracing a new hero. The comparison to Pacquiao was inevitable. Longtime Filipino sports journalist TJ Manitok had put it perfectly. The country has been hungry for the next Manny Pacquiao. When he was at his peak, life stopped. When there's a fight, nothing's on the road. Everyone's watching. That comparison carried enormous weight. Eala was proving she belonged in that conversation, not as a boxer, but as a Filipino athlete whose achievements transcend her sport and become something the entire nation and its diaspora can rally around. The fan meet was a celebration of everything Eala had achieved. She had secured the biggest payout of her career with £300,000 from her Wimbledon run. She had climbed to a career-high world No. 28 in the latest WTA rankings, eclipsing her previous best of number 29 set earlier in the year. She had become the first Filipino to reach the fourth round of a Grand Slam singles tournament in the Open era. And she had done it all with humility, grace, and an unwavering belief in herself. "I try to be as authentic as possible. I believe in being genuine. I believe in my values," Eala had said during her Wimbledon press conference. This exposure, I suppose, or this platform I have, has really allowed me to reflect on myself. It allows me to be the best version of myself because I know that many people admire me. Her message to the young fans who looked up to her was clear. I don't want people to see me and say, I want to be the next Alex Eala. I want them to see and say, wow, I want to be the first me. I want to create my own path. The fan meet was also an opportunity for Eala to thank the nation that had supported her through every step of her journey. She signed autographs, posed for photos, and spoke about her Wimbledon experience with the same humility that had endeared her to millions. But the celebrations were just a brief pause. The hardcourt season awaited, and Washington was calling. The Mubadala DC Open, the only combined ATP Lesta 500 event in the world, was the next stop on Eala's journey. The tournament, scheduled from July 27 to August 2, would kick off her North American hardcourt swing. She would then head to Toronto for the Canadian Open from August 1 to 13, followed by the Cincinnati Open and finally the U.S. Open, the season's final Grand Slam. Eala was projected to make her second U.S. Open main draw appearance, a year after she earned her first Grand Slam main draw victory as a professional at the tournament. She would also grace the Stars of the Open, a U.S. Open Fan Week event that would give fans an opportunity to see her up close. The hardcourt swing beckoned, and a nation of 110 million people would be watching every step of the way. But for now, the focus was on Washington, and the VIP welcome that awaited her at Dulles International Airport had set the stage for something extraordinary. The red carpet welcome at Dulles International Airport was not just a moment for the tennis world. It was a moment that would be shared, celebrated, and dissected across every social media platform within hours. The images of Eala stepping off the plane, flanked by security personnel and escorted by a motorcade of black SUVs, went viral almost immediately. Filipino fans across the globe shared the footage with pride. The tennis world expressed shock and admiration. And the 21-year-old from Manila, who just days earlier had been spotted dancing in the VIP section at a Bad Bunny concert in Stockholm, was now being treated like a visiting dignitary in Washington. The contrast was striking. On July 11, Eala had been flashed on the big screen at Bad Bunny's concert at the Strawberry Arena in Stockholm, with a fan-shot video showing her dancing in the VIP section. Just hours later, she had arrived at Manila's NAIA Terminal 3 to a hero's welcome, with Philippine Sports Commission Chairman Patrick Pato Gregorio and Philippine Olympic Committee President Abraham Bambal Tolentino greeting her along with hundreds of fans. And now, less than 2 weeks later, she was arriving in Washington to the kind of welcome usually reserved for heads of state. The video of her arrival at Dulles racked up millions of views across platforms. Commentators marveled at the level of treatment she had received, and fans celebrated the recognition of their hero. But the viral moment was not just about the red carpet. It was about what the welcome represented. It was a recognition that Eala had become more than a tennis player. She had become a global icon. And the world was finally paying attention. One fan's comment captured the sentiment perfectly. "She's enjoying life outside tennis," one ex-user said after the Bad Bunny video surfaced. "She's 21, so yeah, Alex needs to party once in a while," another fan wrote. "Don't grow old on the tennis court. Balance is the key." From concert crowds to airport tarmacs to red carpet welcomes, Eala's back-to-back viral moments captured both sides of a rising global athlete, a focused competitor and a young star off-duty. The media coverage of the Dulles arrival was intense. News outlets from around the world picked up the story, with headlines declaring that the Eala Effect had officially arrived in America. The fact that a 21-year-old tennis player from the Philippines had been given a welcome, usually reserved for heads of state, was a testament to the global power of her growing influence. For the Filipino-American community, the moment was particularly significant. They had been following Eala's journey with growing excitement. They had celebrated her victory over Swiatek with pride. And now they were seeing their hero being welcomed in a way that validated everything they had believed about her. The Eala Effect was no longer just a Philippine phenomenon. It was a global movement. The final chapter of this story is not about red carpets or motorcades. It is about what the VIP welcome represents for a diaspora that has been waiting for a hero like Alex Eala. The images of Eala's arrival at Dulles International Airport went viral within hours. Filipino fans from across the globe shared the footage with pride. The tennis world expressed shock and admiration. And the 21-year-old from Manila, who just days earlier had been spotted dancing in the VIP section at a Bad Bunny concert in Stockholm, was now being treated like royalty in Washington. The contrast was remarkable. Just days before her Washington arrival, Eala had been welcomed home to the Philippines with a hero's reception at NAIA Terminal 3. Philippine Olympic Committee President Abraham Bambol Tolentino and Philippine Sports Commission Chairman Padric Pato Gregorio were there to greet her alongside officials from the Philippine Tennis Association. Hundreds of fans had packed the airport, waving Philippine flags and chanting her name as she walked through the international arrivals area. The Banda Kawayan ng Pilipinas performed with their bamboo instruments, and a welcome message glowed on the LED screen. "Is this really all for me?" Eala had beamed upon arriving to the packed crowd. She signed tennis balls, interacted with young athletes from Navotas City, and took in the welcome festivities before walking through the international arrivals area. "Maraming salamat po," she said when asked what her message was to the Filipino people. But before that homecoming, Eala had made a quick stop in Stockholm, where she was spotted dancing on stage during Bad Bunny's concert at the Strawberry Arena. The viral clip showed the Filipina tennis star in the VIP section after being flashed on the big screen. "She's enjoying life outside tennis," one ex-user commented. "She's 21, so yeah, Alex needs to party once in a while," another fan wrote. "Don't grow old on the tennis court, balance is the key." From concert crowds to airport tarmacs to red carpet welcomes, Eala's back-to-back viral moments captured both sides of a rising global athlete, a focused competitor and a young star off-duty. And now in Washington, she was being welcomed with the kind of treatment usually reserved for heads of state. The Filipino-American community, over 4 million strong across the United States, had been watching Eala's journey with growing pride. Her Wimbledon run had united a diaspora. Her victory over Iga Swiatek on center court had become a moment of collective celebration, and her arrival in Washington was a chance to finally see their hero in person. They had waited for this moment, and they were determined to make their presence felt. For the Filipino fans who had gathered at Dulles that day, the welcome was a validation of everything they had been saying for weeks. Eala was special. She was not just a good player. She was a once-in-a-generation talent who deserved every bit of recognition she was receiving. The comparison to Manny Pacquiao carried enormous weight. When he was at his peak, life stopped. When there's a fight, nothing's on the road, everyone's watching. Eala was proving she belonged in that conversation, an athlete whose achievements transcend her sport and become something the entire nation and its diaspora can rally around. What began as a VIP welcome had become a moment that united a diaspora. And as Eala prepares for the Mubadala DC Open, the Canadian Open in Toronto from August 1 to 13, and the US Open, the season's final Grand Slam, one question echoes through the stands. Is Alex Eala the most beloved athlete in the world right now? The Eala Effect had become a global movement, and Washington had just experienced it firsthand.